Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in this one we need to fix an issue with the enemies that we have over here. Even though logically enemy should move to next waypoint because this one is blocked and this one is closer, he's still trying to reach current waypoint, and that is the problem we need to fix to make game look better. And that will be very easy to do. So I think before we start, let's do a bit of a cleanup. First of all, waypoint manager is not needed anymore. We do not use it anymore. We have waypoints under enemy portal. So I'm going to delete it. And it's okay if we take waypoint manager and delete it as well. So let's just take it and do delete. Very nice. Now let's do a bit more of a cleanup on enemy portal. We're going to go to the script and I want to hide this enemy to create list because we don't need to see it unless we need to debug something specific. And also, we have this method that returns enemies to create list, so we can add a new enemy. I thought about this, and perhaps we're not going to use this list anywhere else. Perhaps. So that's why I want to rework this method slightly, but it's not a big deal. Just a bit of a change there. So first of all, let's make this private. Private. And to make it work correctly, to not give us any errors, we need to do equals to new list of game objects, because list should be initialized. When you make it public, it is initialized by Unity. When you make it private, it is not initialized, and you need to make it equals to new list, either here or somewhere in the awake or start. This should do it. Now, next step would be to maybe take these two and move them above so it's easy to find, and let's put a space over there, like that. Let me see this. Yeah, okay, this looks a bit better. And if you need to debug enemies list, you can go to debug mode over here. And you can see the list. All right, let's go back to normal. Let's go to the script. And let's change this method over here a little bit. Instead of returning the list, I want to make a method that would add enemy to the list. Because that's the only reason we have access to this list in the first place. So I'm going to do this. Public void, add enemy. Game object, enemy to add, gonna give me enemies to create, add enemy to add. Now we're gonna save it, go to enemy manager. In the enemy manager, I want to open start method and I want to call setup next wave, so I don't have to do it manually every time I start the game. And over here, we're just gonna call this method, add enemy, enemy to add. Basically, we took functionality from here and moved it to enemy portal. Something like that. All right, there's nothing much I want to change for now, so this should be good. Now let's talk about waypoints. We need to understand something before we do this. We need to remember something. We have this waypoint index, which is responsible for cycling between waypoints that enemy has. And this waypoint index is actually acting like next waypoint index. Just to remind you, over here, we're checking if agent remaining distance is less than 0.5. When you start in the game, I mean when enemy starts his life cycle, his agent does not have a destination at all. Because of that, his remaining distance is 0. And because of that, this if statement works even if you don't set any destination in the first place. And once this condition is met, we set in the agent's destination to the get next waypoint, which is method that returns us vector 3. Let's go to this method and see it. So you might remember that this one is there just to make sure we do not return waypoint after the last one. Because if this is the last waypoint, then there is no next one and we cannot get next waypoint. And it just returns transform position. That is clear. This calculation over here is used for distance, just so we know remaining distance for the enemy, and this can be collapsed as well. And we need to talk about this over here. So we get in target point, we make it equals to my waypoint with a waypoint index, which is by default 0. So when we call this method for the first time, we get in first waypoint in the list. And once we got this information, right after that, we increase in waypoint index by 1 for the next call of this method. So that means this waypoint is basically a next waypoint index. And this is very important for this video. Let's take it and let's rename it to next waypoint index. Okay, just to be sure I'm right, just to show you what I mean by that, let's go back to Unity. Let's start the game. And let's select any enemy over here. For example, this one. So we know that now this enemy moves to the first waypoint in the list. And first waypoint in the list, over here, this one has index 0, just like you saw right now. It has index 0. But enemy, over here, we're going to go to debug mode, has a next waypoint index, which is equals to 1. So that's clear, that is how it's working, right? Very good. Now that we got this out of the way, by the way, when it reaches the waypoint, it's going to have next waypoint index 2, and current one is 1. So yeah, now that we know this information, now that we remember that, we need to adjust the script a little bit. We need to have information about current waypoint. That is for one simple reason though. And maybe let me explain real fast and then we're going to make it. I want to explain how it's going to work, the fix we're going to apply. Let me switch to, wait a second. Here is a good example. Let's go back to normal. So this enemy over here is trying to reach this waypoint. We can see it clearly. Although by now, it's kind of pointless to move to this waypoint, because this waypoint now should be next destination. Again, because he passed sort of the area of this waypoint, and it's kinda not logical for it to move here and then here. He's supposed to go in the shortest way possible, so he better go like that. That's the fix we need to apply. How are we gonna do that? Well, simply, from time to time, we're going to check distance between enemy and next waypoint, and between enemy's current waypoint and next waypoint. And if this distance over here is bigger than distance to the next waypoint from the enemy, then we're going to change waypoint dynamically on the spot. This will help us to keep movement of the enemy efficient and clean. Okay, that's what we're going to do. It may sound confusing. It's going to be very easy to understand in this script. Let's just go here and let's make private int current waypoint index. Just like that. And we're going to go to the method where we get the next waypoint here. And we're going to do something like this. Current waypoint index equals to next waypoint index minus 1. I think it's the easiest way to get it without any calculations. I'm going to write a comment. All right, now that we have this information, we can easily make a method that will check the distance, as I said before. I'm going to make it over here, and it's going to be named as private void should change waypoint, or should update waypoint. Should change waypoint is okay. Inside of this method, we're going to do a couple of things, then we're going to turn this void into a boolean. But first, let's do the thing. We want to type vector3 current waypoint, which is a position of a current waypoint, and we're going to get it by doing my waypoints with a current waypoint index dot position. Then we're going to get position of a next waypoint, vector3 next waypoint equals to my waypoints with a next waypoint index. Very cool. Now we can go here and make a float value distance to next waypoint, which is a distance from enemy to the next waypoint, not the current one. Vector3.distance from transform position to the next waypoint. And we need float distance between points equals to vector3.distance from current waypoint to the next waypoint. Now that we have these two distances, we can easily update waypoints in the update. We just need to maybe change this to a boolean. And then over here, I'm going to do something like this. If distance between waypoints is bigger than distance to next waypoint, then it means it's time to change the waypoint, because distance to the next waypoint is smaller and it's better to move to the next waypoint rather than trying to reach current waypoint so you can move to the next one. So we're gonna do here return true. And if no, we're gonna return false. There is a better way to write all of this, but for now, let's just make sure it's working, because we want to understand the logic first. All right, now let's go over here and do something simple. or, this is how you type or, should change waypoint. Just like that. Now we're gonna save it, we're gonna go back to Unity, and you will see that the problem we had is fixed. Let's go back. Let's hit the play button. And enemy switches to the next waypoint, and it is not trying to reach the current one over here. You can see on the example of fast enemies. Maybe let me make more fast enemies, like 10. All right, this looks much more efficient, less glitchy, just how it's supposed to be. Now let me see like overall behavior of the enemies with this update. Gonna try again. I can see a message there, we're gonna fix it. But this part is working nicely. They're not stumbling upon each other, they're not pushing each other, that is perfect. Now let's fix the issue we have over here, and I know what is it about. We're gonna go back to the scripts, and over here we're trying to get next waypoint index position. Although we have a problem with this one, because this value can be bigger than total amount of waypoints. We do if check over here. We check if next waypoint index is bigger or equals to my waypoints.count, which essentially means we cannot have waypoint if there is no waypoint after the last one. But it does not work here, so we have to adjust this method. We're gonna simply type if next waypoint index is bigger or equals to my waypoints.count, then return false. Just like that. And this will stop method from working here if next waypoint index is bigger than total waypoint count. Now let's go ahead and try this. Let's see if there is any bugs. Okay, works as well. Now it's gonna reach the final destination and we're not supposed to see any errors. Perfect. Very nice. Now let's go and improve this method a little bit more. We're gonna go back to the script, and over here, you don't have to type things like this. You know that if you type return and you write some condition, it's gonna return true if condition is met, and it's gonna return false if condition is not met. Because of that, we can simply type over here, distance between next waypoints bigger than distance to next waypoint, like that. And now we don't need if statement, and we don't need this return false over here. Now, if this one will be true, it's going to return true. If this one will be false, it's going to return false. So it's a bit cleaner. There is no extra if statement, no nesting, and at the same time, it works like before. Let's go ahead and try this. Yeah, no error messages, no bugs. Everything is nice. Okay, now let's go back and do a bit more of improvement. We're gonna go to enemy script. And I'm thinking we need somehow to join this into one method, because this one looks a little bit messy, right? This one says should change waypoint, but this one says should change waypoint as well. So we can do something like this. We can type here, if agent remaining distance is less than 0.5f, return true. Yes. And now over here, we can simply have if should change waypoint, then agent set destination, get next waypoint. So it's similar to what we had before. We just moved a condition inside of a method, so it's easier to read the update. You could take a look at the update. It has a method. If you want to know what it does, you go inside of a method, just like that. Now let's go back and make sure I did not break anything. So works same as before, no bugs, nothing. Okay, this is perfect. All right, this is good. It is working. Now we have issue fixed, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.